Hello, back we are again for the second time in the commentary box.
Yeah, Rex, 2 in 1 week. People might start talking about what we're doing. Everything's good though. I think we put this one together in short time, so I think it's
and rightly so, because the timing is good.
Exactly.
Our guest today then is a gentleman who is raising awareness for motor neurone disease on Saturday. He is cycling for 12 hours at Al Qudra in the desert, and we'll ask him a little bit more about that in a minute. He's also from a family that are about 4 or 5 generations in Scotland. He's going to tell you a bit more about as well, and his name is Sandy Stirling. Welcome, Sandy.
Good evening, gents.
Great to see you, Sandy.
Been watching you guys for a few weeks now and delighted to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's great to see you, Sandy, and you certainly look a little bit different to when I last saw you, probably 5 or 6 months ago. What have you been doing?
Losing 16 kilos to start with. I decided going back to September that I needed to give myself a little bit of a challenge. Obviously, we've been challenging times of COVID. And I ended up phoning up a colleague of mine who had done Ironmans before and said, listen, I need to inspire myself. I have this idea. And he said, what are you thinking? And I said, well, I'm thinking of getting on my bike for as long as I can. I said, what do you think, 5 months of training? How long do you think I could go? He said, what are you thinking? And I said, well, 24 hours. I said, I've watched Rob Wainwright cycle from Twickenham up to Murrayfield with the match ball pre-Scotland England, and then he was obviously doing that for the Doddy Weir Foundation that Rob's very attached to, and then another friend of mine, Ewan Dowes, who plays for the Joining Jack side, decided that he would ride with the old rugby league captain, forget his name, but for 24 hours in their garages in May.
Wow.
Which was incredible to see. 6 weeks later, he then rode for 30 hours in his garage with 13 others for Rob Burrows, who sadly at 38 also has motor neurons. So they were kind of my inspiration. Mm-hmm. I then thought to myself, well, I'm being a bit silly for 24 hours. Woke up the next morning and thought, well, I did 4 in South Africa previously at the Cape Argus the year before, which was the first time I'd been on a bike since I was a child, pretty much. And thought, well, let's do 12 and let's challenge myself and push myself. And took on a friend of yours in David Labouchere, who's been training me, and David's been excellent. Trained with some of the Ironman people that he's been training. And slowly but surely, even though I had to go through Christmas and New Year, the weight has disappeared. And
then some. I mean, your head seems twice as big as it was before, and your shoulders are a wee bit smaller, but it's still sandy there. And as I said earlier on, I think we just couldn't believe it when you walked through the door, and it was a spontaneous applause almost. So you've done very well.
And also for everybody that doesn't know, outside UAE, Al Qudra, where is it, and what are you biking in the desert, or what's the story?
So basically, there's the Al Qudra track. The main track is 50 kilometers. Yeah. So my challenge is to start at Zad's, which is one of the little coffee shops there, and I will just keep doing loops and loops around. So it allows people to come and join if people want to come and join on the day. But at the moment, we have about 100 people coming to join me. I start at 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
So
on Saturday.
On Saturday.
Saturday morning,
So I'm past my bedtime already. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I'm putting down my 3-year-old son at 7:30, and I know in the next few days that's when I'm going to bed too. It starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. Hoping that my lights work on my bike, and it's 4 to 4. Unfortunately, it looks as though we're going to have a challenging day because they are predicting serious winds.
I saw a bit of wind.
A bit of a dust storm coming in.
Imagine 7 people turning up on Saturday, Sunday.
That'll make it a very, very long day. But listen, I was speaking to my mum the other night, and it's still going to be 12 hours regardless of what I'm doing. And as I said to my mum, motor neurons people go through a hell of a lot worse. And for 12 hours, I'm sure I can put up with that.
Would you like to tell us about why you're doing this in the background for I think, a variety of reasons.
Yeah, do you know what? It's bizarre. There's two sort of main parts to it. I'm writing on behalf of raising awareness for the Ewan MacDonald Research Centre in Edinburgh. It's very close to me because Ewan was at school with me, who actually got motor neurons at 28. Ewan is now 47. He's still alive. I speak to him over Facebook. Ewan has technology on his eyeball that allows him to do predictive text. And he and his father have created this research centre that's attached to Edinburgh University. And they're one of the leading research into motor neurons. Now, unfortunately, 6 years ago, my dad, at the age of 79, was diagnosed with motor neurons. And he fought, my dad being an old Scottish farmer, to get it at that age was pretty rare. And my father had it for 4 years and sadly passed 2 years ago. So it'll actually be his second anniversary on the 9th of March, hence my timing of what I'm doing. But, you know, I one of the events that I ran back in Edinburgh a few years back, Doddy just announced at that point in time when he was in New Zealand that he had motor neurons. So I've met Doddy. He's an amazing personality. He's now raised over £7 million. In fact, I think he's just added another $1 million to that in January. Obviously, Rob Burrows, the rugby league guy, has got it. And unfortunately, motor neurons is appearing more and more. But in comparison to the likes of the cancers that are out there, it gets very little funding. I mean, to give you the best example, my father, when he was diagnosed, was given a pill that was the same pill that were given to people for 20 years. And that's how little the advancement into finding a cure. I mean, quite simply, if you're diagnosed with motor neurons, it is a death sentence. Sadly, normally you're given 1 to 2 years survival. Doddy has been fantastic. Doddy, I think, is now about 4.5 years. My father was 4 years. I know from what I've seen of Rob Burrows, unfortunately for him, it's been a dramatic change in him over a year, from somebody who just retired from playing rugby league at 38, which is very sad. You know, the whole motor neurons awareness is just, for me, it's, and I've been very fortunate in the support that I've been getting, not just from people who are coming out in the day, but a lot of connections from back home.
Oh, you've had some fantastic support, and some of the videos that are still to come through, you're almost like saving the best till last. I mean, I wish really you could have asked us earlier, because we would have gone all out to have got the Crankies, and maybe the few left from Basie Girolles as well.
And maybe you could have got Val Kilmer if we'd known earlier.
Should have got Val, I mean,
but no, the videos have been great, really good.
No, and you've got some more people coming on, which is great. And we've been privy to some of that. That's amazing. I'm amazed that in the rugby fraternity there have been so many people that have had it, because we did talk about Jus van der Westhuizen as well. And in fact, I think that was probably the first time I was really aware of it. Didn't even know that Stephen Hawking had the same thing. And he was one of the guys that survived for a very long time. But there's obviously so little known about it. So you're doing a great thing, Sandy.
Yeah. Listen, the guys, in all honesty, they would be massively supportive. Is initially I reached out to Willie Allen, and I know John Allen. John played for Scotland and for South Africa, and obviously they both played. John played with Just. And I've had videos, you know, from his teammates, you know, Mark Andrews, Andre Joubert, Joe Stransky. Straight away they've come in support, because last week, had he still been alive, it would have been Youth's 50th birthday. And it is, as I say, a terrible shame, because the illness, the way that it attacks the body, is the brain is 100%. You're 100% alert. You know, when I speak with Ewan's still got a sense of humour, still got everything, but all that happens is your nerve ends slowly disappear, and eventually gets to the point, sadly, where people pass from it. But Ewan has 24-hour, 7 days a week care, and is still going. It's amazing, and he's such an inspiration as well.
And we don't know what triggers it. It attacks the central nervous system, does it?
Yeah, they don't know what causes it. I mean, with my dad did have a really bad fall a few years before, where he passed out and hit the corner of a paving stone on the side of his head. Whether it was related to that, we don't know. And in all honesty, because there's so little breakthroughs, they don't actually know. Because I'm part of the various motor neurons groups, it's very random what comes out. Yes, it has impacted some sports stars. We all look at it as potential head knocks, but now because of dementia and Parkinson's, whether it be footballers heading balls or rugby players, we're obviously, the topics of sendings off in the Six Nations over the way that people are tackling. Just because of the size of people, we've just got to protect people more if we can. It may be the cause at this point in time they don't know, and that's the problem, is there hasn't really been that many breakthroughs to give it sort of direction of what's actually causing it.
So apart from what you're doing, which is amazing, what else is needed? What can people do?
In what way?
Well, in learning more about it and understanding it and giving it more focus than obviously what it's not getting at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the whole thing that I'm doing around it is just raising awareness. I mean, as I say, the support and the videos that are to come have been incredible. Emotional. There'll be a tearjerker come on Friday night without a doubt, and I hope it inspires people.
Sure.
The problem is, as I say, because it's so few that are affected, this is the hard part, is it's not just the individuals, it's the families. It's what the families and the people around that have to go through it. That's where the hard part comes in. And I think for me, the group that I'm cycling with, a lot of the guys have been reposting. Yeah. I mean, the views I've already had on LinkedIn is over 70 to 80,000 people
really
watching the videos, which has been amazing. And it's so, what people don't realise is there's so little that you do can mean so much to more people.
Sure.
And my big hope, I mean, with what I've been doing, is there's so many people in our industry, within the construction industry, who've been inspired to join me, to get fit. And the more that people can do around, not just motor neurons, there's so many families are affected by different things, is, to be blunt, get off your butt, get out there and do the likes of things that I'm doing, because it actually is helping so many people. But it's also great for the people who are suffering to see that people are trying to help.
Yeah, right.
And I think if other people can get involved and come and join me on Saturday, it's very welcome to anyone. Then fantastic.
So Saturday 4 a.m. or if you decide to have a bit of a sleep in, you can join at 8 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then cycle through to 4 p.m.
Yeah. So you're hoping to do around about every 2 hours?
So weather depending.
Yes.
Weather depending. If the weather was okay and the wind wasn't up too much, then I would be coming in about every hour and 45 minutes. I would have been looking to do 300 to 350 kilometres over that period. But as I say, the winds are looking pretty strong on the day. So one half of the cycle would be amazing, because I'll be getting blown along. I might wear one of these aerodynamic suits to get me even faster. But then the challenge, the nice thing is I'm going to have people around me.
Yeah, you're going to have a buffer on you.
So I'll be able to draft. Yeah. And all the training, all the big cycles I've done so far, I've been doing on my own, so that I'm mentally prepared for dealing with the wind, knowing that come Saturday, I'm going to have a protecting shield around me.
Yeah,
exactly.
And, mentally and physically.
Yes.
So is it you're going to be going out in one pack, or is it going to be groups that are going out, or?
So basically, all I will keep doing is a 50-kilometre loop. I will come in to refuel with water, with food, whatever. Stop for 5 minutes, stretch the legs, get the shoes off, and then if people are there, they then come and join me for the next loop, and I just keep popping in and keep doing that. In all honesty, it's quite interesting. There's another guy who didn't want to come out on the bike. He's a few years older. He'll hate me for saying that. Another Scotsman by the name of Campbell Steedman. And Campbell's actually walking.
For 12 hours.
For 12 hours. So he is also going to be on the track, starting off at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll wave to him every time I go past him. We're organising food and water drop-offs for him as he goes around the track, because I don't want him carrying he's ex-military. I don't want him carrying an extra huge pack to last. But he's actually walking around the track for 12 hours.
So is Campbell open to friends to join him on his walk, or is he a bit of a loner?
Do you know what he is? I think the issue is that people, one of his friends reached out and said, I'll join you at 8 o'clock. Campbell has no clue where he'll be on the track at that point in time. For people to come out. So,
and poor old Campbell, if he completes a round with half an hour to go, is he going to have to finish that round? I mean, because I'll hold him to it.
Yeah.
So he last weekend he did 6 hours and 36 kilometers. So I think what he'll do is carry on walking and then double back, knowing what his time was. So he's back around the same time.
Campbell, if you're listening, you're a splitter, mate.
Exactly.
I do know him. So.
Yeah.
And
Shout out to Campbell.
When you talk about army and everything, he spent a lot of time, and he's a very fond and passionate man in the TA. So when you're talking about bringing your sandwiches, they're known as the Cut Lunch Commandos. So that's perfect.
Do you know what? He'll hate me for saying this, but Campbell listens to his music, and he listens to marching music. Most people, it might be AC/DC or Muse, like I will be at some stage in the game, but he listens to marching bands, and it keeps him going. It reminds me of his military days, so he just plugs in and off he goes.
Scottish pipe.
I don't know if it'd be Scottish pipe. There might be a bit in there, but
yeah. Oh, that's great.
Bizarre.
So just to be clear, we've got a WhatsApp group that we'll put on our Instagram, and so people can contact there. If they want to join, they want to get more information, they can hit us on that. And more the merrier.
Yeah. For me, do you know what? It's all about awareness. The more people that get involved, the better for me. The more people who promote it, it's fantastic.
Sure.
It's very close to my heart, as I say, what we talked about earlier on, and it means the world to me. And the videos, just been amazing.
Great.
Okay, good luck with that. Should we move on to the second half? That was the most important bit, by the way. A long talk, so don't think we're just kind of like conveniently shuffling through. But there's a very interesting story to tell about the family business, right?
Just a little bit.
Do you want to humour us with specifics, or...?
Yeah, so that'll soon be, just over 5 years ago, my family decided to change things around a little bit. We've been farming for 5 generations, and my dad was always very entrepreneurial, and he always wanted us to think out of the box. And we decided to set up a distillery, and we wanted to do something a little bit different. We as farmers, we watch the mass production of food. We see the way the world is going with, the various sprays and all the various different things that they help grow, whether that's in animals or, within crops. And we decided to start producing a field-to-bottle product. Now, we were very fortunate in the start because we found a lady that was at that point in time at university studying the production of alcohol, and she's an absolute genius. She
Harriet Watt?
Harriet Watt, correct, in Edinburgh.
Great research.
Yeah.
But I knew that they did brewing for years, so I'm presuming it's the same setup.
Yeah, we did. So we found this lady called Kirsty, whose background is more scientist rather than scientist distilling, and our sidekick Christian, who's more about the taste. He comes from more of a wine background, and the combo together has just been phenomenal. We've gone back the traditional way of creating vodka, which is with potatoes, so it's a gluten-free product. Obviously, as I've been educated, that gin's base is vodka as well. It's flavored vodka. So we've started creating different spirits. Obviously, the aim is whiskey. The problem with whiskey is you have to wait a very long time. In our case, my brother, don't know why he decided, but he thought it'd be great to release ours at 18 years. And I thought, geez, you're going to be very old by the time whiskey starts appearing.
And what's the minimum? Is it 8 years in Scotland?
3 years.
Okay.
3 years. Do you know what? It's a very interesting industry. It's very controversial. We recently we've created some new products. We now have the only rye whiskey. It's over 100 years to come out in Scotland. It was controversial because it matures a lot quicker than single malt. It's very difficult to grow. Bizarrely, we're on the east coast of Scotland, which is, if there is such a thing as the driest area in Scotland, that's where we farm, if there is such a thing. And we released rye whiskey. Some of our competition announced that they were going to be the first ones to make it. What they didn't know is that we were over 2 years in front of them.
Yeah, that was a shame actually, because there's something came out in the Weekend FT that Rob Marinelli, who's another friend of ours, was at pains to point out that you didn't get a mention, which was shocking. I hope we got back to them actually, because
we have done, and a lot of people in the industry have actually gone back to them. So yeah, we've got a rye whiskey that's currently the only in the world market, which is fantastic for us. But recently, even more so, is Kirsty was working with the Hutton Institute in Dundee for her PhD, and they came up with, they basically, her research was into legumes, or in this case peas, and basically found that peas take nitrogen naturally out of the air and put it back into the soil, so that farmers don't have to put extra nitrogen to help crops grow. The impact carbon footprint wise improves enormously. So at the moment, we've produced 2 products, Nadar Gin, Nadar Vodka, that are the 2 most sustainable alcohols on the entire planet at the moment. The interest has been phenomenal. Obviously, difficult times through COVID because of what's happened with the hotel chains, retail, etc. Retail, we haven't been doing a lot, although we're about to start supplying Whole Foods in the US, who are quite simply all over us like a rash, which has been amazing. Brilliant. Yeah, I'd never heard of them. And suddenly we're going to be selling to 80 stores within their 500 stores worldwide, or within the US. They're now going into Canada and in the UK.
There's a few in the UK.
Yeah, so it's growing
Wholefields.
there.
Whole Foods is there too,
Whole Foods.
Yeah, right, okay,
no, I
good.
think it turned up in Kensington about 12 years ago, or 13 years ago, I reckon. But anyway, by the way.
But we've been chasing distributors, which during COVID has been brilliant because they were very difficult to get a hold of, whereas now, because of COVID, they're all sitting at home. But we've gone a stage further that now Marriott, Accor, Jumeirah, Amman Hotels, which I'd never heard of, etc., are now wanting the products. So suddenly they're now going to their distribution guys going, can you source these products for us?
So it's not here yet, but it's coming.
Fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
And how have the Americans taken Scottish rye whiskey? Because that must be quite interesting for them.
It is in the market. It's slowly drifting in the market. Canada have been all over it like a rash. It's now starting to move into the US, which is obviously competitive. But the process, which I can't go into all the technical parts of it, I have to say is fantastic. Out of all the products, for me, because of my taste buds, I won't tell you what I used to drink. It used to be mixed with something else. I would be known as the heretic back home. But you listen, when I look back on where I grew up I farmed for 12 years back home, and to see where the business is now has just been phenomenal. And I take my hat off to my brothers, for my dad for his inspiration in us doing this. But you know what? It's always one of these things where Dad always pushed us to say, if you believe in something, you want to do something, try it. We all make mistakes, learn from your mistakes. And to see where the business is going right now has been brilliant for him, and it's something that he always pushed us to do. And it's as I say, it's heading in that right direction. And right now with these sustainable products, it's massive. Very exciting.
And you're getting good scores and everything. I know there was a strawberry vodka or something that you were doing that did well in a cocktail or something.
Yeah, so across the range with strawberry vodka, it's used at Wimbledon with the champagne cocktails. Abramovich has been drinking our vodka in his private dining at Chelsea. It's across the Chelsea Stadium.
Hold on a second, I got that. There it is.
We have chili vodka that the bartenders absolutely love for because the process. The thing is what we do is rather than add in a flavour at the end, it's in at the start. So it means when you buy the products, the taste quality is so different. And so many people go, oh, what do we mix it with? And should we put in cucumber? And should we put in this? And should we put in all of this? No. The plainest tonics or whatever the mixes are, the better, because you can actually taste the difference.
Interestingly, I remember a couple of years ago you were talking about when gin went everywhere, and at the time, and there's probably more now, there was something like 50 Scottish gins, and you said out of those 50, only 3 produce it themselves. And for those that don't understand, from what my limited knowledge, you buy a vanilla vodka, if you like, not obviously flavoured with vanilla, it's a basic, and then all it is a question of just dropping in those botanicals, boiling it up a bit, and then putting some fancy packaging and going, ta-da. You don't do that, do you? And that makes a huge difference.
Do you know what? It's very controversial. The Gin Association in Scotland have been trying to grade 4 different levels. You know, when you go to the shops and you buy products and you think, well, hang on a second, you know, the people have gone to great deal in putting this product together. This is where the controversy comes in, because currently there are, out of about 100, I think there's about 120 gins associated with Scotland.
It's 120 now.
It's 120.
So 2 years ago it was 50.
Yeah, because people hear the word craft and people think, well, someone's taking it from start to finish, so I don't mind paying a little bit more. Currently, there are, I think, 4 of us that are field to bottle who take it from the field through to the end. You then get the second grade, which is where they buy a base spirit and then they flavour it. Mm-hmm. And they then, where they spend the money is then on the packaging and the marketing. Mm-hmm. There's then the third ones who are a little bit more controversial. I've got to be careful the words I use here. Is they have used a Scottish name, but they may use one product from Scotland but are based in England. Right. And then you get the 4th brand who've used the Scottish name and have got nothing to do with Scotland.
And they're in Indonesia.
No, they're in the UK. Yeah. Oh. So it's one of these. You know what? It's the same with food products. There's so many things out in the market right now where, even with whiskey, you know, it's a controversial one with whiskey. So now that I've started, I may as well go on to it. Is that within whiskey right now, some of the best sellers are the best looking products out there that have no age, and there's a certain product that's the colour of this frame that is one of the best sellers on the entire planet, and it's there's no age on it because people, because what they did was the marketing, the product looks amazing. They doubled the marketing. They called.
If you have a good story, people buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. You know, it's the same in, you go to the supermarket and sometimes you think someone's written because it's, you know, coming off a certain farm or whatever. People think it's from that farm. It's not necessarily for that farm. And that's the challenge for us as farmers, is to educate people that if you want quality taste-wise, the field-to-bottle companies, you'll notice the difference. You know, people that's always the thing when you go out and you see people shoving all sorts of fruit and cucumber in gins, etc. What are you tasting? You're tasting the fruit. You're not tasting the product.
They shouldn't need to do that.
You can put any spirit in there and it covers over it. With ours, you taste the quality. Yes, it's going to cost more, but that's what it comes down to.
So, for the second week running, authentic.
Exactly. No. Very interesting. Now, we're not going to keep you up, because I know you've got time for bed. Because but thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Good luck with everything. And fascinating to talk about.
And we're going to be there at 4, maybe 5 past.
4 p.m.
Okay. Oh, 4 p.m. could be. Yeah, right. Good. But no. All the best.
Thank you.
We're there to support you, and obviously to everybody that's listening, we'll put it on the group so that if people want to join you, they can do that, because I'm sure there's a lot of bikes in Dubai that don't even know about this. They'll be keen to join you. So this is a great course. Thanks for coming.
I would just say one thing: if people do come out and want to have a conversation with me while I'm cycling, particularly when it comes to the middle of the day, I may have my earplugs in listening to music. Right. It's not that I don't like speaking to people, as you know, but there will be times where I'm struggling a little bit, and the music might go in, and I might sort of switch off.
So what are you going to be listening to, Sandy? That's what everybody be on.
I think there'll be a bit of Muse, a little bit of AC/DC, a little bit of rock music to keep me going. You might be even lucky. I might even sing a bit of Frank Sinatra while I'm out there. But I know I've got a tough challenge ahead.
Sure.
But it's nothing in comparison to what the people suffering from motor neuron suffer for, and their families. So thank you. Thanks both.
Well done.
Good on you,
Well done.
It's a pleasure.